Let's dive into the curious world of choices, where more isn't always better and freedom to choose can sometimes be, well, a little overwhelming. We're talking about the paradox of choice, a phenomenon where having too many options doesn't necessarily make us happier or even help us make better decisions. In fact, too many choices can actually paralyze us, leading to stress, regret, and sometimes a whole lot of indecision. Imagine you walk into an ice cream shop, and they don't just have your standard vanilla, chocolate, and strawberry. Instead, they have 50 different flavors lined up, from pistachio praline to lavender honey and maple bacon. Sounds like heaven, right? But as you scan the rows, sampling spoon in hand, you start to realize that having so many options makes it way harder to pick. You worry about choosing the right flavor, wonder if you'd like another one better. And suddenly, what should be a fun decision feels like a mini existential crisis. This is the paradox of choice in action. The abundance of options, instead of bringing joy, leads to confusion, hesitation, and that nagging feeling of wondering if you made the wrong choice. The paradox of choice is something psychologist Barry Schwartz popularized, and it's everywhere in our lives today. We live in a world where choice is equated with freedom, autonomy, and happiness. We're constantly bombarded with options in everything we do. Think about it. From ordering coffee with endless customization options, to choosing a movie on a streaming service with thousands of titles. There's this idea that the more choices we have, the happier and freer we'll be. But according to Schwartz and other researchers, too much choice can actually do the opposite, leading us to stress, dissatisfaction, and sometimes even paralysis. One fascinating example is what researchers call choice overload. When people are given too many options, they're less likely to make a choice at all. In one study, researchers set up a booth at a grocery store with jars of jam. On some days, they had 24 different jams for people to sample. On other days, they only offered 6. Logic might say more jams mean more sales, but the opposite was true. On days with fewer options, people were much more likely to make a purchase. When there were too many jams to pick from, most people sampled, but then left empty-handed. This goes against everything we'd expect, but it shows us that having too many choices can actually be overwhelming, making us less likely to commit to any option at all. The paradox of choice also affects how satisfied we feel with the choices we do make. When you have only a few options, you're more likely to feel content with your choice. But when there are dozens or even hundreds of choices, it's easy to wonder if maybe, just maybe, you could have picked something better. This is where regret kicks in. After you finally pick your ice cream flavor or buy that new pair of shoes, you might find yourself second-guessing. What if the other option would have been more delicious, more comfortable, or just somehow better? This kind of regret is often worse when we have more choices, because each option we didn't choose feels like a missed opportunity. A big reason behind this dissatisfaction is what's known as maximizing versus satisficing. Maximizers are people who want the very best and will go through tons of options to get it. Satisficers, on the other hand, set their standards and pick the first option that meets them. While maximizers often make objectively better choices, research shows that satisficers tend to be happier. This is because maximizers are more likely to feel regret or wonder if they could have made a better choice, while satisficers feel content and are ready to move on. In a world of endless choices, learning to satisfice can actually be a huge advantage. The paradox of choice isn't limited to shopping or picking flavors. It plays out in nearly every area of our lives. Think about dating apps, where you can swipe through seemingly endless profiles. With so many people to choose from, finding a partner should be easier than ever, right? But some studies suggest that too many options actually make people more likely to stay single or be less committed. The sheer abundance of choices can create a mindset of always looking for something or someone better, leading to dissatisfaction and endless searching. The same goes for career paths. We're told to follow our passion and have more career options than ever before. But with all these choices comes an increase in anxiety and self-doubt, as we wonder if we're making the right choice, or if we're missing out on something even better. It's a bit ironic, isn't it? In our quest for happiness, we've created a world of limitless options. Yet research shows that scaling back our choices can often lead to more happiness, more commitment, and less regret. Take minimalist movements, for example. The idea of simplifying and having fewer possessions is all about reducing the noise, limiting options, and focusing on what really matters. The paradox of choice suggests that by limiting our options, we can actually find more clarity and peace of mind. One helpful strategy for dealing with the paradox of choice is setting clear priorities. For instance, if you're shopping for a new phone, figure out what features are most important to you, whether it's battery life, camera quality, or screen size. Having these priorities helps narrow down your options and reduces the stress of comparing every little detail. Another tip is to give yourself a time limit when making decisions. If you're stuck choosing a movie, set a 5-minute timer and pick something before it goes off. Sometimes a gentle nudge can be all it takes to keep us from overthinking and get us moving. It's also important to embrace the idea that no choice will ever be perfect. In a world of endless possibilities, it's easy to get trapped in the mindset that there's always something better out there. But perfection is an illusion. Each choice we make will have pros and cons. And often, there's more than one right option. Learning to accept good enough as actually good can be incredibly freeing. This doesn't mean we shouldn't care about our choices, but rather that we can find peace by not obsessing over every detail. The paradox of choice reminds us that, sometimes, less truly is more. It encourages us to pause, reflect, and remember that more options don't always lead to a better outcome. In fact, simplifying our lives by reducing choices can lead to greater satisfaction, less stress, and a more fulfilling experience. So next time you find yourself overwhelmed by too many options, whether it's what to eat, watch, or buy, remember, sometimes the best choice is to embrace the simplicity and go with your gut. At the end of the day, the paradox of choice teaches us a valuable lesson about contentment and freedom. True freedom doesn't come from having endless choices. It comes from feeling at peace with the choices we make. So, let's reclaim our happiness, one less decision at a time, and find joy in the simplicity of choosing what matters most to us.